What's up, everybody? We're at the BWNC headquarters. This is part 2 of a 2-part series. If you haven't seen part 1 yet, definitely check that out because throughout the series, we are covering pre-production, production, and post-production of their newest music video that they just released for Cal. It is called My Brother.
My brother told me that we'll never be as young as we are right now.
In this episode, we're going to be covering a lot of the post-production, so let's get right into it. So you guys wrap the shoot, and you're going to get into post-production, okay? So what's the process between the two of you working? Because you edited the overall video, and he did the VFX.
Right.
So what's that process like for you guys?
I tried to get the cut done as soon as possible so he could see it and then export out ProRes files of each little clip that would need the visual effects done. I kind of laid it out for him.
He had this whole sheet that he sent me, basically time code everything exactly what he wanted. Instead of guessing, instead of like sending you shit that you didn't want or like putting the wrong clip on this wrong whatever plate, it was all laid out. It's just waiting for VFX. And I love that as a VFX person because I'm not guessing what he wants. His vision is clear and that's where I'm headed to. So him just telling me exactly what he wanted, it made everything streamlined and it just like, okay, this frame needs this in there and we need it to do this at this specific point in time. But it also allowed me to add extra stuff like, you know, going into like a little warp or whatever. So it gave me some creativity freedom. Just that balance was like perfect for this project.
I think that's a great tip. If you're a director, if you're someone that's passing part of your project on to someone else, to be able to be as detailed oriented as possible.
Well, yeah, you have to assume that I don't know anything.
So there's a ton of like insane VFX, obviously, a lot of practical stuff that you guys did too. The balance between those two, do you favor that? How does that help you in the edit as far as like having practical effects versus having to do a lot of things with VFX?
Having the frames was like pretty much key because without them, they would just be all over the place. They would kind of lose what your vision was originally. It's just easier to add effects to something rather than building it from nothing. So when you have nothing practical, you have nothing for the artist to interact with. You have nothing for the light to interact with. Our eyes can see what is fake, and having it CG, it's just never going to be as good as a practical frame.
So like in that environment, you have what you're working with, but I noticed that you guys chose to add like a lot of smoke and different colors and things that you did in post. What was your guys' direction for that?
Well, we had a lot of the practical effects, the fog and all that good stuff, lights going crazy. But as far as what he had added, I mean, he just took it and ran with it. All I asked him to do was just fill the frame and add some atmosphere behind the frame. Sort of like a cosmic, spacey kind of vibe with a little bit of fog. And the first thing he sent me back, he nailed it. What
was your goal with filling the frame?
I know at this point in the video, there's a lot more color, there's a lot more glowy and flashy. So I knew I wanted more of that psychedelic look as compared to the beginning, which is very black and white. And you know, there's an evolution of color, which I thought was super dope. From there, I just, added more things so that it got to the point where I was like, okay, that's cool. And then I sent it over to him.
I mean, obviously one of the best parts of that video, it's when he walks up to the golden frame and he sees himself on the other side. Can you talk about the process of building and designing that?
This scene we actually wanted to show Cal on both sides of the mirror. So the first thing I did was I removed the battery pack that was on the back of the frame. That was easily done by just masking it, tracking the mask, and moving it over pretty much like a clone stamp tool for Photoshop. We already had atmosphere, and that was helping a lot. But we wanted to add more to make it more dreamlike, more spacey. I ended up adding layers on layers of cloud textures and just animating them so they kind of flow, so they look realistic. And with Cal, I just had to flop him over to the side and just make sure he was tracked to this scene. And it looks like he's interacting with his mirror Cal. To top it off, I added particles which kind of interact with the movement of Cal's hand. You're never going to notice this, but like it's the attention to detail that makes good VFX great. So like these little particles are actually interacting with the movement of his hand as if they're in real life.
And that's what I love. That's why I wanted to break this down, because I feel like there's so many pieces to the puzzle that no one understands when they watch it. It's just a dope video, but it's like there's so many elements that add value to that shot, which is super dope. So there's this epic fly-through scene at the end of the video where you're flying through a bunch of memories of Cal when he was a child with his brother. How did that concept come to be, and how did you bring it to Kawika to kind of illustrate what you wanted?
Myself, Cal, and Luke sat down. We had talked about the frame idea, and then I like going in and out of things. I think it's super dope. It's different. And it's just like, all right, you go with the energy of the song. So right at the end, that hook hits hard. So I wanted something just big to happen. It's like, why don't we just go into a frame? Just literally dive right into the frame.
You called it like the Star Wars effect. It felt like you were just flying through this infinity of insanity.
That scene is pure VFX. It's all made in the computer. I actually thought of like in the Star Trek or Star Wars, how the warp speed kind of thing. I thought of that, and he wanted the infinite loop of frames. So that was like the original idea, but it started off with utilizing the colors that we were talking about, and then just adding. I wanted it to feel like, because like he was talking about how it's the big hit, the big moment, and just wanted that blast in your face kind of thing.
How long did it take you to build it?
Probably a day or two. It wasn't like because it was hard, it was more because I was trying to like think of ideas and ways to make this look dope.
Right.
Like there's particles I put in there. I didn't like them at first, but over time I was trying to figure out the best way to make them look like it's coming at you.
What was like one of the biggest things you guys learned working together? What did you guys enjoy about working with each other as artists?
I always love collaborating with incredible artists, and he was so easy to work with. I did throw a lot on you at the end. I know I did, but I mean, he rolled with it and got the job done.
I think the end cut is like a perfect mesh of both of our creativity.
Totally.
It's not just you, it's not just me. Post-wise,
Right.
It was a perfect mesh of VFX and cutting.
Totally.
So like those overlays and all those other like galaxy effects, it was perfect.
All right, that's it for this video, guys. Thanks for watching. I will link to both of them in the description of this video, so if you want to follow them on Instagram, definitely do that. Leave us a comment below, and if you want to see the actual music video, because I can't really put the music in or I'll get flagged, motherfucker, I'll put a link to that in the description, so check that out. Support Cal, and support these guys because they're crushing it. Thanks for coming on the podcast, or not the podcast, I'm so used to doing fucking podcasts. This is a YouTube video. Thanks for coming on to an In the Field episode, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
That was a joy. All right, see ya, motherfuckers.